Okay, hello. So today I'm going to be showing how to do marbling using the Procyon powdered dye. It's what was left over from when I tie-dyed the other day, and shaving cream. So first I have my 100% cotton fabric. It has been sitting in a soda ash solution with warm water for about 15-20 minutes. So I'm going to wring this out and then set it off to the side while I get ready. And I'm just going to cut these strips. So I want a nice clean surface. So the first step is to mix the dye. So I mixed the Procyon dye with, it was 1 teaspoon for 4 ounces. So you can see it's already been mixed together. And again, this is what I have left over from yesterday when I was doing some tie-dyeing. So I'm just going to open this up, shake up the regular shaving cream, and fill the bottle up with it. And I'm going to shake it up until I get a pretty thick mixture in here. Again, I'm just going to keep kind of mixing it up and push it down in a little bit there. Just want to make a nice creamy color. There we go. And for this, I'm doing the raspberry dye. I think that looks pretty good there. This one is a violet. Got a crack in this one. Maybe I won't use the violet. It looks like the bottle is cracked. I'm just going to set that aside. And this next one is peach. Doesn't want to go in there. Clean that up a little bit. Go. And just a little bit more, I think. There, that looks good. And then the last color I'm going to be working with today is the emerald green Procyon dye. Again, I'm just going to fill this one up with shaving cream. Try not to overfill again. think maybe one more time. And that looks pretty good. So those are my 3 dies. I'm going to make sure I shake them up again real good as I'm putting them on. And the next step, grab this paper towel here, is to make sure it's nice and clean. And I'm going to put a bunch of shaving cream into this bowl. I'm going to make sure I use one that doesn't have. This will be our base. And we're just going to empty a whole bunch of shaving cream in here. And then we're going to mix it with a little bit of water, just to make sure we take a little bit of that stiffness out so it spreads nice and easy. Alright, so again I'm going to put just a little bit of water in there so that it spreads nice and easy and it's not real stiff when I put it on to the plastic here. So this will be our base, and then we'll put the colored dye on top of it, and then we will swirl it and marble it. So I'm just going to lay this out. Spread it out so I have about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and again I want to make sure I have enough to cover wherever the cloth will be. So my cloths are pretty decent size. I have enough here. There we go. Alright, so now that I've got something approximately the same size as my piece of cloth, I am going to take my dye and just kind of squirt it around. There's the raspberry. And next we're going to use the peach. And I'm going to shake it up one more time before I use it. And just want to lay this out so you get a nice cover. And the last one will be my green. I think I might want to put a little bit more raspberry on there. So up there. There we go. Alright, so before I put my cloth on there, I'm going to take just a paintbrush. I'm going to use the end of a paintbrush, or you can use a fork, really whatever you want, just to kind of swirl it around. And if you swirl it too much, it'll start to get muddy. So you really want to make sure you're working through it to get a nice swirl, but not too much that you lose those nice colors. Alright, that looks good there. Now I'm going to take my piece of fabric and I'm just going to gently lay it down and press it into my shaving cream. Make sure it gets nice and saturated. You want to make sure you get all those air bubbles out, so it might be helpful to press from one side to the other. Stretch it out. As I press it, I can see some of that marbling already starting to come through to the fabric. Pressing it out towards the edges of my fabric. And there we go. So now I'm going to wait and let it sit and soak into the material for about 10 to 15 minutes. So make sure I get all those air bubbles out. There we go. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes. So now I'm going to lift my fabric off of the shaving cream and set it over here on a clean drop cloth. Make sure it's nice and flat. And I'm going to allow that to dry for about overnight. Sorry, I'm going to allow that to dry overnight, and then I'll come back in the morning and see how it goes. Then we'll rinse and wash it. So that is marbling. And also what's really nice is I should be able to get another piece. So actually I'm going to go ahead and put another one on right now and let that sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. So we'll be able to check on that one later on as well. So here's one more. Just gently lay that on. Press out the bubbles. This one might not be quite as vibrant as the first one. I know I see some really beautiful swirls already showing through with my first one. Pressing out all these air bubbles again. Just kind of make sure I get a nice set of marbled fabric to use in my next project. All right, there we go. We will be checking on both of these after a bit. Okay, so I actually ended up leaving these two to sit overnight. And this one I left face down on top of the shaving cream. So I'm just now pulling it up. All right, that looks like it's got some pretty neat different textures on there. And then this one you can see dried, and it still has a little bit of the shaving cream on there. So what I'm going to do is take these to the sink and rinse them off, and I'll be back to show you how they turned out. Okay, so now that I have my cloth all rinsed out, I'm going to show you the final pieces. So here is the marbling. This is the one that I left on for about 15 to 20 minutes and then pulled off again and let dry overnight. And move that down here. And then this is the one that I left on the leftover shaving cream. So this one actually has some really fun texture from that shaving cream drying overnight. Left some really neat looking. I love this where the bubbles like pushed the ink out. Really beautiful. So again, this one I left on the shaving cream overnight, and as the shaving cream dried, it like concentrated the dye, and the bubbles forced the dye into this really cool kind of pattern over around it. And then this one over here was the one that I left on the marbling for about 15 to 20 minutes and then took off and allowed to dry overnight. You can see I have some really nice vibrant color in this one and really pretty swirls from the dye and the shaving cream.